everyone. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. I think we'll go ahead and start because it is 5:30 and this call is being recorded. So certainly you can tell your friends, family members, whomever, that they can access it on our Facebook page and website if they would like to watch it at a later time if they were unable to join us tonight. So I wanted to make sure you all know who I am. I think you do, but I'm Mary Anderson, the principal of CES, the proud principal. And I would like to just take a moment to thank our wonderful staff members, some of whom are here tonight. I want to thank our CES leadership team, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. So this, the central office, our superintendent, Gallagher, had requested of all the principals that we form building-based leadership teams to help roll out our plans, develop our plans, and roll out our plans for opening school. And so we have many staff members who stepped up and volunteered to be on this leadership team. I have all grade levels represented. I have our instructional assistants represented. Al Young, our head custodian, is also on that team. Jeremy Leclerc, who is our IT director, is on that team. So we have met twice now and spent quite a lot of time developing our procedures, which you will hear in part tonight. I would like to thank the Lamoille North administrative team, several of whom are here this evening to help answer questions. Catherine Gallagher, our superintendent, along with many people who work in her central office, and I'm going to try to name them all right now and their title. So Deb Clark is next to her on my screen. Deb Clark is the business manager for the entire supervisory union. Tommy O'Connor is above Deb. He is head of after-school programming for the whole school district, as well as he has been placed in charge of helping to oversee the remote learning programming for this upcoming school year. We also have Janet Murray, who's over to my right. She is the preschool director for the, or early ed program director for Lamoille North. We also should have Wendy Savery, who is our director of curriculum and assessment for the district. And Dylan LaFlam should be joining us as well. Dylan is head of operations, buildings and operations for the entire district. And Flo Kelly should be joining us today. Flo Kelly is a nurse at Lamoille Union High School, but she is also serving as the COVID coordinator for the entire supervisory union. That was a position that the state required all districts to have, and she is leading the charge of that and doing a fabulous job. So I want to thank all of them because right now, everybody is working overtime to try to make this work and open safely for your children, and I just want to thank them for for all the support that they're giving us here in Cambridge. And then, of course, Jeremy. We couldn't do this without Jeremy. There he is on the screen in his office. He's here with me this evening, and he's helping to pull this off. Already had to help me problem solve before this meeting even started. So thank you, Jeremy, as always, for your help. So thank you all for being here. The way I'm going to structure this meeting this evening is I put together with my principal colleagues a list of kind of important bulleted points that I think that parents should know that are all based on the guidelines that have been set forth by the state of Vermont for reopening school. So we basically sat down with that document, which you may or may not have seen. It can be accessed at the Agency of Ed's website. I believe Kat has sent it out to a link to that document as well. And we just went through all the points that are recommendations and requirements. So I will outline a lot of the safety and health guidelines, and then we'll talk about what the student day will look like. And we will talk about hybrid learning. We will talk about remote learning. Folks from our central office will have a few pieces to say on all of those things, and then we'll open it up for questions. If you want to ask a question tonight, that is absolutely fine. I will do my best not to overlook your question, and Jeremy is helping with that. So you can put your question into the chat, and then he is sending me those questions. Actually, I have a separate screen here. And between all of us, between me and my colleagues from central office, we will do our best to answer your questions tonight, or we will try to get an answer to you very soon. Okay? So with that said, again, thanks for being here. Here are some important things that you may already know, but I think it's important to just tell you anyway, just in case. So, first of all, you've probably heard that masks are going to be required while children and staff are at school. So any adult and any child will need to wear masks while they are here. However, you may see staff members, the adults, wearing face shields. Staff members, adults, are allowed to wear face shields that meet certain specifications set forth by the state. And that is because it may be easier for the adults to breathe who have to talk a lot all day long. It's a possible option for them. But masks are certainly the strongest, they're the most strongest recommended thing to wear. But children do have to wear a mask at school and while they're on the bus. So you might be asking, well, what if my child won't wear a mask? So if your child refuses to wear the mask, then the very kind, sweet adults that your child interacts with every day are going to do everything they can, including standing on their head and walking backwards, maybe at the same time, to get your child to wear the mask. And we will be working with families. If a child flat out refuses and we can't get them to put it back on through reasoning with them, they may be asked to leave for the day. And then we will have to meet with families to try to come together to form some kind of a support plan for the child. A doctor's notice required for a student to be exempt from wearing a mask entirely. And Flo Kelly may talk about that in a little while, but I just wanted to put that out there now. All right, let's move on to busing. So I'm sure many of you have already decided if you're going to put your child on the bus or if you're going to drive them to school. We will be providing busing. Some of the stops may be changed because of the required health screening that has to take place as kids board the bus. We're a little nervous about Route 15 and how fast people go on Route 15 in some of those places. You know what I'm talking about? And for the bus to have to wait any longer because of a health screening could really pose a very major problem for all involved. So some of those stops on Route 15, many of which have already been eliminated because of safety, we may have to cut those further. We are hiring bus monitors for each bus. So each bus will have a second adult on the bus. I think we can all agree that a bus driver cannot make sure that kids have their masks on and drive the bus at the same time. So we will have bus monitors on each bus. I think most likely most of these people will be staff members that we already have working at CES who know our kids well. And so they will be taking turns riding the bus, in some cases all the way to Lamoille, and then coming back. So their job will be to administer the health screen, which includes taking a child's temperature, and then they will be making sure that children have their masks on while they're on the bus. Let's see. We will be asking kids to social distance to the greatest extent possible on the bus, and we will be asking different age groups to sit with one another, and children will have assigned seats. So that's an important thing to tell your child now if they're going to ride the bus, is they will have an assigned seat. That is not a negotiable right now. It will go back to the way it was before when life goes back to normal. But right now, because of contact tracing, the need to contact trace or the potential need to contact trace, we have to assign seats on the bus. So the buses will be cleaned every day, disinfected every day, and hand sanitizer will be available on buses all the time. Let's move on to recess. Yay, probably one of the things your child is really looking forward to. The time is now to let them know that the play structures will be shut down. So we are needing to close down the play structures because we are concerned about contamination and the constant need that we would have to disinfect them because we have numerous recess times throughout the day. It's really not physically possible for us to do that. We are very blessed, as you know, though, behind our school or in front, however which way you look at it, we have these lovely playing fields. So children will still go outside for recess, but recess will happen over there so that the play structure isn't a tempting thing for some kids to gravitate towards, even though they're not supposed to. So the teachers will go outside with their classes on the playground, and children will remain with their classes. So there won't be mixing of pods. They will need to stay with the children that they are in the classroom with during the day. So that's another point to explain to your child now, because that's a big change, is they won't be able to play with all their friends at recess. They're going to need to stay with the children in their class. And that is because we're trying to eliminate or prevent, I should say, cross-contamination. We need to be able to contact trace in case there is a case of COVID. So that is why that is happening. Masks can come off, though, during recess, during their class, as long as they are playing in a socially distancing way. So during the first couple days of school, the teachers are going to be spending a lot of time teaching kids what recess needs to look like, teaching kids what walking in a line needs to look like when you're socially distancing. So they'll be doing a lot of practicing. There will be a lot of modeling and a lot of practicing with masks on until the teacher feels comfortable that now the children have it down so well that they can remove their masks and do it that way. So that is recess. All right, for those of you who will be dropping off and picking up your child, you might be wondering, oh my goodness, do I really even want to drive into that parking lot, which is already a zoo in the mornings with additional traffic? So these are the plans that we have in place right now, some of which it's still under development, but kind of you'll have the vision, hopefully, of what it's going to look like. Students will have an assigned entrance and an arrival time, and we have not established those yet. We're going to try to do it by family so that you only have to come once and you don't have to wait, and bring the next child in every 10 minutes for those of you that have more than one child here. So all of this will be determined after kids are placed in their classrooms next week. All students will be screened before they come into the building, and we want that to happen while you're still in your vehicles. So we will have designated entrances. We have a lot of doors. We're very lucky. So there will be a sign in front of your designated door stating which grade level it is for. So for example, we think preschool and kindergarten will come in through our main entrance. So there will be a sign there noting that for you in case you forget. And your child will have to be screened. You'll drive up to that entrance. You'll wait your turn. And there will be a staff member there ready to take their temperature through the window, and Flo will explain to you the rest of the procedures for the screening in a little while. And then the child will walk out, get out of the car and walk into the school through that entrance. We cannot allow parents to come into the building, unfortunately. We can't have any visitors and any volunteers. So there will be supervision out there until we get everybody into the school. We'll have different staff members assigned the different grade levels. Okay. So then, conversely, the same thing will happen, I believe, as children leave school. You will have a designated pickup time when you are supposed to come and pick up your child or children, and they will leave through the same designated exit. And they will be led outside by hopefully the same staff member each day. So you can probably get a sense now that we're trying not to mix people together to the greatest extent possible. This is very important. Some children are dropped off at school before 7:30. That has been happening historically in Cambridge since the beginning of time. They wait outside because maybe mom or dad needs to get to work earlier than that. Maybe they work in Burlington and they need to be there at 7. That cannot happen right now. It can't happen because we cannot have children unsupervised. We need to be able to screen kids as soon as they come onto the property. And if they're waiting around outside the building, we can't have kids mixing together when there's no supervision. High school kids, this is important for any of you that have children attending Lamoille Union or middle school. If you are planning to drop them off at CES by 7:30 to catch the bus up to Lamoille, we are asking that those children not be dropped off at CES. The community center has very nicely allowed us to have those kids go to that parking lot where our bus will meet you. And you'll be getting more information from Lisa about this, but it's the reason why I'm asking for this is so that we can minimize the amount of traffic that is in this parking lot in the mornings. So I know that some kids either can't get picked up by the bus, you're not on a route, or they want to sleep late. That's fine. They will meet the bus at the community center at probably 7:35. We'll have to try it out and see how things go to know the exact times. And those kids will need to be screened before they get on the bus. So families cannot leave their kids there. Because if your child has a temperature, somebody needs to leave, they need to be taken home. So that's a big change too for families. Even middle and high school kids who are old enough to stand there by themselves, we know that, cannot be left alone if they're catching the bus up to Lamoille. They can't be left alone at this drop-off site because they could have a temperature and someone needs to take them right away. So please share that widely with your friends and family that may affect. But more information will be coming about it. And please thank John Dunn from the Community Center if you see him, because that was very kind of him to agree to that. So let's see. I'm also looking into making School Street one way during drop-off and pickup times. I don't have the authority to do that. I wish I did. So I've reached out to the town to see what kind of decision or authority it will take to make that decision if they're willing. So it would just be from 7:30 to 8 and approximately 2 to 2:30 in the afternoons that we would make it one way, and that would help, I think, keep things safer in our parking lot. Okay, let's talk about PE class. So unfortunately, part of the guidelines either require or recommend, I can't remember, that our cafeterias and gymnasiums be shut down. So we still think that PE class is important. So the school will be renting a really big wedding tent, and that will be placed out on one of our nice playing fields so that children can have PE outside if it's raining or not. So Amanda Grainer will be taking our kids outside for PE. If they're here for hybrid learning, they will only have PE once a week, but they will have PE every week, which I think is really important. So we will keep that tent out there until the snow flies. And then we will have another tent on the playground side that can be used for an outdoor classroom. Masks do not have to be used during PE class, such as just like recess, as long as the children are staying within a certain amount of feet from one another. And Flo will talk about that guidance in a little while. Let's see. All right, let's move on to classrooms. So children will come through their assigned door and stay in the classroom for the entire day. And there will be a few exceptions, which I'll talk about in a little while. In the classrooms, if there are desks, they will be faced forward in rows, or tables, which most of our classrooms have tables. Children will be spaced apart at those tables, most likely just 2 children per table. And then there may be dividers in place, especially up in the upper grade classrooms, 5th and 6th grade. Children have to wear masks. They will have individual materials, so they can't share markers, they can't share pencils, they can't share glue sticks. They'll all have their own little box of stuff that they need to use. So the teachers are in the process of organizing all that. So that's a good thing to tell your child something to expect. And let's see, what else? The specials teachers will be going into the classrooms to deliver their specials instructions. So that means library class, art class, and music class. And music class is going to look a lot different. They can't play woodwind instruments, and they can't sing. So they'll be doing other things. More to come on that. Let's see. Cafeteria is closed. So breakfast and lunch will be served in the classroom. For those of you that remember the flood of, let's see, it was 2018, we had to serve lunch in our classrooms for quite some time, and we were really good at that. So we've got that down. And Kelly Shortsleeve has already put together a proposed menu for the first month of school. It looks amazing. We are going to be purchasing, or have purchased, her equipment so that she can keep food warm while kids are being served on the different floors. And that way they won't be just getting cold food all the time, sandwiches and so on. So I think that we've got the meal thing down pat. The library will be closed, but never fear. Mrs. Bauman will make sure that children can check out books. So we have a wonderful online system that the children already are familiar with. She will be delivering books to the classrooms if they order them online, and she'll be bringing selections of books that kids can choose from on a cart. So we will have books coming home, and we encourage kids to read as much as possible. Our fire and safety drills will be modified. So we will still have fire drills, and we will most likely go out on the playground side of the building, but we will have to practice how we stand in lines so that we are separate from one another and socially distanced, but we still have to have a fire drill. And then our evacuation drills, our safety drills, clear the halls drills, you might say. They are asking us to just go through scenarios and to talk with kids about what we need to do if you hear that over the intercom, and just talk them through it in the classroom rather than actually perform the drills. Okay, so I told you that I would just try to give you a day in the life of a student at Cambridge Elementary when they come back for hybrid instruction right now. So you're probably getting the picture, but just to say it again in case I forgot anything, if they take the bus, they will have to have their temperature taken before they get on the bus. If their temperature is over a certain amount, which Flo will talk about, they will need to not get on the bus and go home. And the same goes for if they are riding a car to school with you. They will enter through the playground side lobby door if they're taking the bus, or through a designated entrance on the main entrance side if they are coming in a car. Students will work in smaller pods comprised of approximately half their class, and that's what the teachers will be working on next week. And just a reminder, the survey deadline is Friday. Please send that in if you haven't done so already, letting us know if your child will be working remotely or in a hybrid classroom. Students will remain in their classrooms for the entire day with the following exceptions. So this is good to let your children know now. They go outside for recess, where they will remain with their class. They might need to use a bathroom in a nearby hallway if they don't have a bathroom in their classroom. They will go to PE class outside. They will leave with their class for a safety drill. They might go outside to an outdoor classroom, or just be outside somewhere, maybe down by the river in the fields, for a class with their teacher and class. They might receive a special service outside of the regular classroom. And just a reminder, they will eat lunch in their classrooms with their class. Students will leave the school through the same entrance that they arrived in, and if being picked up, will most likely leave at an assigned time. All right. So those were all the bulleted points that the principals put together with me. You should have received an email from me that had an overview of what will the hybrid schedule look like at CES, as well as a description of the virtual academy. So I just wanted to let you know that those were sent out to you. In case you did not receive them and you would like them, you can email me and I'm happy to send them to you. I believe they're also on our website, managed by Jeremy so well. So children will be assigned to pods. So we're basically trying to divide our classes in half to the greatest extent that we can, so that we have fewer kids in a class, so that we can socially distance to the greatest extent possible in order to keep our children safe and our staff. So you will be finding out, hopefully by next Thursday, what days your child have been assigned to. There is the possibility that your child's teacher that they were placed with in the spring may get changed. We're trying not to do that, but that could happen. I just wanted to put that out there. When they are in school, on their school days, I want school to look like school used to look like. I want them to be reading books. I want them to be working in cooperative groups. I want them to be solving problems. I want them to be playing math games. All the things that they couldn't do when they were remote learning last spring. When they are home and they're working remotely on their off days, they will most likely be doing most of their work on the computer, doing a math program called Dreambox, which some classrooms used last year. We are looking into a different reading program. We weren't really that excited about iStation, so we're looking at a different program called Lexia that our special educators have been using for quite some time and really like. and they will have books to read at home. They will have a math book to take back and forth. That is from the Bridges math program, which is what we use. And they may have other science online programs. Those will all be assigned by their classroom teacher. But while they're at school, they will have readers and writers workshop. They will have the Bridges math workplaces that they're working at, different science inquiry lessons, and so on. I want them to be off the computer as much as possible when they're at school. Then, for children who are fully remote, I wanted to make sure that everyone understood that the remote academy is not going, the virtual academy is not going to look like remote instruction did last spring. So if you recall, children had to get up, 8 o'clock to join a morning meeting. They then might have had office hours with their teacher. They might have had different group meetings throughout the week, along with assignments that they had to complete. This is going to be a little different this time. First of all, the teacher that is assigned to your child for remote instruction most likely won't be their classroom teacher. We're not asking our classroom teachers to be in charge of teaching the remote kids only and the kids that are here for hybrid. It's really not possible for them to do all of that. So the children who are in remote instruction may have a teacher from CES who has been reassigned to be a remote teacher, or it could be a teacher from Lamoille North School District. And we're in the process of hiring those people. I can't tell you who they are yet because we don't know, but we should soon. And they will be using a specific online curriculum, which Wendy Savery, I'm sure, could speak volumes about compared to me. But it's called the Vermont Virtual Learning Cooperative Curriculum. And it was developed before COVID. It's something that some families and students have been using for some time in the state of Vermont. And the state of Vermont is now recommending that school districts use this so that there's a common curriculum that's in place in case everybody goes remote. And we hope that doesn't happen because that means things are getting worse. But people will be prepared for that. So that is the program that will be used. And there are some sample lessons that I believe you can access. And I'm just trying to see if those were part of this information. I'll let Wendy speak to that and how you can get to those if you don't have those links. And I'll let her speak more to that. I feel like she can do a better job than I can. I'm almost ready to hand this off to our next experts here. Let's see. All right, so students will be placed on pods by classroom teachers next Tuesday and Wednesday. I just want people to know that we're receiving a lot of requests for lots of different kinds of accommodations for families, which it's going to complicate the process for placement. And it's fine. We're going to do our very best to meet all your needs, but it's going to be a time-consuming process that will take, I don't know how long. I don't know how the teachers are going to do it. I know they can do it. I have total faith in them, but they will have all your information, and they will be placing kids on pods, and then we will notify you, hopefully by the end of next week, which days your child is being assigned to. Let's see. And again, we just ask for your patience, please. All right. I think that I am ready to have Flo Kelly join us. And again, she's serving as the COVID coordinator for Lamoille North Supervisory Union. She has worked as the school nurse at Lamoille Union for quite some time. And she is part of a statewide task force as well that has been working on rolling out developing and rolling out the health guidelines for COVID throughout the summer. She's been eating, living, and breathing COVID all summer long, but she doesn't have COVID, thankfully. All right, so, Flo,
well, thank you, Mary. Hello,
You're
everybody
welcome.
from Cambridge. How are you? I hope you can hear me okay? Good. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about face coverings because there's been a lot of questions in the bar that I see about face coverings. When I talk about face coverings, I'm talking about cloth face coverings. These face coverings, the best are at least 2 layers thick of material for protection. Single layer does not protect you as well. This one that I made is got 3 layers to it, and you can slip a coffee filter or a filtering piece of material inside it. These cloth face coverings should fit snugly on your face. Once they're on your face, you shouldn't put your hands on them. You shouldn't have them dangling on your chin like this. You shouldn't put them around your neck like this either when they have the straps, okay? So cloth face coverings are made to wear over your face snugly and around your ears. When you take them off, you should take them off and on by the loops and fold them inside. Always carry them by the little loops and store them this way. It's recommended that they be stored in a Ziploc plastic bag, a separate container, or in a paper bag. Lanyards aren't a good idea because they dangle, and thus, you know, the droplets go everywhere that are on the mask. So we don't allow that. We don't allow face bandanas because when you put on a face bandana, the bottom of it is open and does not fit snugly, and droplets can come down through. We do not allow scarves, neck ups, gaiters. Those have not been proven to be as protective, one. Number two, they're often made of breathable materials, so it doesn't really help prevent the droplets from going through the materials. So those items aren't allowed. The other thing that's not allowed is face masks with one-way vents in them. A lot of people wear these, and what that does is help the person breathe inside the mask, but it's sending the droplets right out through that vent. So those are not allowed. So I know that seems like a lot of rules, but the bottom line is a simple face covering is always the best. As I said, you shouldn't handle it when you have it on your face either. They can be taken off outside, as Mary said, as long as we can maintain a social distancing and a reliable social distancing, we can take them off outside. So that's a really good thing. And I think it's great that the kids are trying to have programs outside more. The screening process. The screening process is been changed. As you know, health guidelines evolve and change frequently, and we roll with it as it goes. Right now, what the screening process includes is that we need to reliably have parents answer 4 questions, and we have to have the documentation and the verification that they've answered those 4 questions. So what you will be completing is a form every morning for your child that says, my child has not been with a person confirmed with a diagnosis of COVID-19. My child has not been in close contact with a person under quarantine for possible exposure for COVID-19. My family has not traveled or lived in an area where the health department is reporting large numbers of COVID-19 cases, and my child does not have any of the symptoms consistent with COVID-19. These symptoms include fever, cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, chills, muscle aches or pains, headache, sore throat, new loss of taste of smell, significant rash, large amounts of nasal discharge, gastrointestinal symptoms like diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting. So the bottom line, what that sounds like is that if your child is sick, they stay home. There are many, many other diseases that mimic some of these symptoms as well. We don't want sick kids in school. We're trying to prevent diseases from being spread. So we really want your help in keeping our environment safe. If a child should become sick while at school, we have isolation rooms set up and procedures set up for that. Parents and guardians will be notified immediately, and the child will be asked to be picked up. We recommend that you consult with your healthcare provider for next steps as to what is to be done with regard to your specific situation with your child and their symptoms. Let's see. We're going to ask kids to be washing their hands an awful lot and sanitizing their hands. You know, but it's going to be before and after they take off face mask, before and after they eat lunch. Throughout the day when they're doing activities, they may need to sanitize their hands. So because we're asking for frequent hand washing, it's okay for parents to provide lotion for the kids for their hands, because I know that can be drying for some children. I did forget to mention that if your child is unable to wear a face mask, we're not in the business of providing exclusions. You need to consult with your physician, and your physician would need to write a note explaining why they cannot wear a face mask. If a child has a health condition that's so severe, we ask that you work with special education, with your child's case manager, you know, let me know, and your school nurse know, and we can work with you individually, and you and your physician and the school nurse and any others that are involved in the school in your child's care. Let's see, social distancing, the role of the health department. We do not do any contact tracing. So if somebody tests positive right now, what happens is that positive test gets reported to the Vermont Department of Health. The Vermont Department of Health will contact that individual. They will determine what possible contacts or other contacts that individual person has had. So, contact in school, remember, we are trying to maintain social distancing between a minimum of 3 and 6 feet. Most of the time in schools, there likely will not be close contact or contact. It can happen, however. So, if there is a positive case, as I said, it gets reported to the Vermont Department of Health. They will notify administration. They and administration will make a determination as far as next steps. But that is all done by the Vermont Department of Health. And I encourage you, if you have any questions regarding testing, traveling, out of state, or, you know, across the border or anything like that, that you look at their website or contact them. They have a wonderful hotline and they answer questions promptly. As was said in the chat box, we do have supplies. If children forget their face mask, or if they break, they become wet, they get dropped in the mud, we have spares. What I recommend is that you put your child's name inside the face mask. I recommend that you have spares if you are providing cloth face masks. These cloth face masks have to be cleaned every day after use before the next school day. I'm going to look in the chat box to see if you guys have any quick questions. Let's see.
Well, I was wondering if your group has talked about the storage of winter gear yet. That was a question that somebody had. And
the storage of winter gear. Right. Oh, yes. And there was an allergy question, too, that I want to respond to. So classrooms are set up with distancing in mind. So, you know, I don't know in your specific class or group for your particular student, but the theory is this. What we try to do is have students facing in the same direction, so many feet apart, so they're assigned to their desk day in and day out. So what happens with that is, if you have a peanut allergy, say, your child's going to be coming in, sitting down and eating at their own desk every day. Nobody else eats at that desk. So if it is not an airborne allergy, nobody else is going to be able to contaminate that particular desk. Hand washing is going to be the same routine because they'd want to wash their hands before and after they eat. There is not sharing of food materials in the classroom, so we're not going to be doing that anymore. Meals will be provided, or you can have snacks for your own children and lunches brought in. Let's see, you asked about the, what was it, Mary, that was the other question?
Winter gear, storage of winter
Gear.
gear.
Okay, I'm sorry. So we recommend too that students have their own individual place to store their belongings. So if in some of the classrooms there are cubbies, those are labeled, they have their own space to put that. If that's not there, then they can hang it on the back of their own chair, or depending on the classroom, there may be hooks on the walls which are separate from one another, and their own belongings are hanging on that specific hook. So children's belongings in all attempt possible are kept separately, but we can store them in the rooms. We do recommend that children bring home their belongings every day, if used that day. So that's what we're looking at. Any other questions that you saw, Mary, that I might be able to help with?
Not that I can see, but I'll let you know. I'll keep reviewing it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thanks for all the work that you're doing on behalf of everyone and keeping us safe, Flo. I really appreciate it. Again, I don't know if Flo's had any time off this summer. So, all right, let's see. There's one thing that I did not mention that I realized while Flo was talking that has to do with health. If a child is showing any signs that they are sick, then they will be sent to a sick bay. So we will have a sick bay that will be staffed, supervised by an adult all the time. We are hiring Shelby Wyckoff. Some of you may know Shelby. She's lived in the community for a long time. She is a trained EMT and has subbed for Sue Reed and many of our teachers for many years. So she knows our school well, and she will be staffing that sick bay, which will have four sick bays within it, which are cots and dividers. And children will wait there until their parents can pick them up. And that classroom will be, for those of you who remember, it will be Kara Deacon's old classroom, and we will be using the entrance and exit that is next to that classroom. We call it the old library entrance with the white doors. So there's a good chance that children will go in and out of there if they're in the sick bay. Okay, so let's move on to... And I'm trying to answer some of these questions as our presenters come on in the interest of time. Okay, so the next person that I will let speak to our curriculum and our programming is Wendy Savery. Wendy?
Good evening. Thanks, Mary. Good evening, everyone. I think Mary's done a great job telling you about the hybrid and remote learning options. So I'll just highlight a few things for you. Based on feedback, immense amount of feedback we received from teachers and students and parents and community members in June after the emergency learning experience. You know, the commonality was a focus on people really wanting a focus on consistency, keeping things simple, as well as providing more resources and structure. So as we thought about the model, most of which has been recommended by the AOE, the hybrid and remote made a lot of sense, at least until things change a bit. You know, our elementary schools will have access to additional content and tools through the partnership with the Vermont Learning, virtual Vermont Learning cooperative that Mary spoke of. They have a partnership with many schools in the state, as well as the AOE, who has confidence in their content and curriculum. It was also a wonderful way to try to provide that structure and consistency for students who do choose full-time remote learning, where they'll be off-site full-time. But no matter who's doing that across our supervisory union, they will have the same, different teachers, but the same learning management system, which is Canvas through the VLC, as well as the same content. Students and parents will be able to see everything in one place. That's the beautiful thing about a learning management system. And in addition, they help to provide many trainings around online learning and teaching, as they've been doing it for many, many years. We also will be following the Agency of Education guidelines on instructional time for both models. We know that our very young children, we will be working from a minimum of a couple hours a day to a maximum of 5.5 hours for secondary students. And there is a great deal of flexibility for the teachers to modify based on the grade level and developmental levels of the children they're teaching. Please note, we're going to, again, offer as much flexibility as possible to make whatever model you choose a good one. I think in terms of the highlights between the two, I just want to stress again, there is a difference. It is not the same as we were under last spring with emergency learning. It is much more organized. There will be a consistent curriculum. All students, no matter what, will get the basic level of education in math, science, social studies, literacy, unified arts, etc. As Mary said, as much as possible, we'd like to keep students with teachers from their schools. That may or may not be possible depending on the numbers who show a preference for online learning. We do guarantee it will be a teacher from our supervisory union who is fully licensed and endorsed in that grade level. I think too that it is completely separate, so it's not that you can access pieces of the school day at the elementary school. It will be fully remote. The similarities again are, it shouldn't look that much different in terms of exposure to morning meetings, small group work, one-to-one time, a certain level of collaboration, office hours with both students and parents, activities. The difference is it will be all virtual and online. So that is sort of the highlights of the two. I am trying to pay attention to the chat and I'll answer where I can, but I think it was just important to make sure that we have a solid understanding of the two, as I know you'll have to make choices by tomorrow evening. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Wendy. Okay, so next up is Dylan LaFlam, and before he speaks, I forgot to tell you something else. So another position that's a new position for this period of time is we will have a second person on site throughout the day disinfecting the building throughout the day. So you may know Sandy Frederick. She's one of our bus drivers. She will be staying at school for the day in between her bus runs, and she will be working throughout the school throughout the day to disinfect highly trafficked areas and different parts of the building, such as doorknobs and so on. And Dylan will speak more to cleaning practices and other procedures and practices that he also has been working tirelessly to put together all summer long. So Dylan, are you there?
Good evening, Cambridge. So just before I start, I just want to give a shout out to Al Young too, who sat on the facility COVID task force. He helped come up with all these procedures and protocols, was a valuable member of the team, and we miss him here tonight. But anyways, I'm sitting in for him. I'm just going to give you guys a brief overview, break it down into 3 sections, be kind of custodial, HVAC, and then general facilities. So anyways, on top of the additional staff, you actually have one more temp employee who's going to be working at night as well, who's really going to be going through and trying to disinfect all those high traffic areas, classrooms. On August 18th and 19th, all year-round facility staff will be certified in disinfecting and control principles for infectious disease from the Global Biorisk Advisory Council. I trip up on that every time. So anyways, that's going to happen next week. It basically is just another level of training so that, we do a lot of disinfecting training anyways and a lot of custodial training that's offered through the state. This is kind of a national training that is really based on infectious disease and how to support if we need to quarantine or anything else. So it's a pretty good training. New COVID-specific custodial procedures have been created. These have been added to the district-wide custodial standards anyways. This is where the extra staff is coming in because it's a lot more work for our day-to-day guys, and there's just no way that they can handle that workload to make sure that everybody's safe. So these are going to include cleaning bathrooms every hour on the hour. These are the common bathrooms, so it's anyone that needs to be shared between cohorts or anything like that. Every hour we have a checklist. Somebody will go through and disinfect those high traffic areas. It'll also be basically disinfecting in transitional periods. Anytime anybody has to go to recess or anything else, there'll be somebody going in behind disinfecting any of those high touch areas. And then there's a nightly full building sanitization that's going to be happening at all campuses, and that's what that extra staff is there to do. The other big thing that we've done as a SU and as a district is we've really gone through all of our custodial closets and we've standardized all of our disinfectants. We've double checked, triple checked to make sure that all of them are EPA certified and that they all are effective in killing COVID. So we do have a couple different levels of disinfectant. It's a public document. They're all listed with their EPA numbers. We have a pretty mild disinfectant that'll be used when students are in the building, and then we have a professional grade disinfectant that'll be used at night when it's professional staff. HVAC, moving on to HVAC. So just to reassure everyone, 100% of Cambridge's HVAC system is operational. That's actually something not a lot of schools in Vermont can say, but Al is amazing and they all work great. All the filters have been changed in the last, and actually I talked to Al about it today. I've been telling everybody in the last month. He said actually all of his has been changed in about the last week. All the coils have been changed or cleaned and sanitized, and we're ready to roll for school. Night setbacks have been removed and efficiencies have been removed. That sounds kind of bad, but it's actually not. It means we're going to be maximizing the system to pull in as much air as we can and exhaust as much air as we can every day. The standard or the guidance that we were given as a facility department is 12 cycles every 24 hours. Every room is a little different, so I haven't given a specific number, but I can tell you in some cases we're doing that times 5. So it's pretty comprehensive. So there's HVAC for you. Facilities, just general facilities information. Mary touched base on the sick bank. I call them isolation rooms. Sick bank is actually a way better term. But anyways, we have a dedicated air purification that we purchase for each one of those spaces. It's a MERV 20 filter. It'll catch influenza. It'll catch COVID. Those will run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if a student needs to go there because they're exhibiting symptoms or they have a fever, those filters should basically, when they leave and another student needs to come in, the air's it's been purified because that's what they are. They're purification. Room setup guidance has been sent out to all staff. Cambridge is probably set up a little bit more than a lot, and they've done an amazing job. We're adhering to the 3-foot rule at a minimum. If we can't adhere to the 3-foot rule, I know Mary touched base on this as well. We have purchased dividers. There's a plethora of different options. We have individual desk dividers. We have plexiglass dividers if it's a table. In the next week or so, we're going to start to actually put those and install those as we know what each room needs, basically what the student body is going to look like and from Monday, Tuesday to Thursday, Friday. So there's going to be quite a few room changes in the next week. Other changes that have made, deliveries, there'll be no longer any deliveries that are made in the building. This really affects a lot of departments, but food service is the big one. Typically in the past, our food vendor would actually deliver it right into the building, put it in the walk-ins, everything else. They're going to leave those all outside. We'll have somebody go out and check and make sure that everything's there that's supposed to be, and then we'll move it in because we've been screened and approved to be in the building. That also goes with all of our vendors. So, again, I'm facilities, so I think on the facilities end of it, but anybody who needs to do any maintenance or repairs on the building, they have to go through the same screenings that the students are going to have to, that the staff's going to have to. They're going to have to fill out the paperwork. They're going to have to take their temperature. And if they answer any of those questions wrong, then we're going to basically ask for either a different contractor or come back in 14 days when you're quarantined. And then the last, which I commented on the side at one point, but the district as a whole, with the CARES Act money, has purchased 3 months supply of face masks. And we actually have some KN95s, which are pretty good masks. We have surgical masks. We have child size. We have adult size. We have 2-ply, 3-ply. We have a plethora of options. So I really think that we should be able to custom fit. If it doesn't work for somebody, we have multiple other options that may work better. So, we have tons of hand sanitizer at this point. I think we're at about almost 400 gallons of it for the district. And we're ready to open and ready to go. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dylan. Let's see. I think I'm going to move along to Kat just to see if there is anything. Oh, I'm sorry, Kat. Tommy, is there anything that you would like to tell us about after school programming or the virtual academy?
For sure. Thank you, Mary, and hello, everyone at Cambridge, my wonderful community. I'm not going to speak too much to Virtual Learning Academy, simply because Wendy has covered most of it. But with my role in the district for this, the major thing I want to get out there is I'm in a support role. So for our students, our teachers, but this sometimes gets missed, also for any parents who are assisting in this learning model, I want to make sure that you know that you will be able to reach me with questions throughout this whole process. Before the end of the night, my information will go in the chat box. Now to switch roles to after school, I need to preface this that I only serve after school in the elementary level. So for any families with students in middle, high school, or tech center, I do not fall under that. So that will be something for your visit tomorrow with the middle and high school. After school is going to run. We are going to do in person. We are under 5 parent organizations, if you will. So we are under a lot of strict guidelines. How this will work is if your student is attending through, we'll call it Pod A on Monday, Tuesday, they can access in-person after school just as they would have any other time. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we will have remote enrichment as well. And then, of course, for our Thursday, Friday pods, we will do the same thing. You will be in person, and we will also offer Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, some remote enrichment. We also are meeting because we want to make sure that families that choose the full remote, the Virtual Learning Academy, still have access to some form of after-school enrichment that is part of the language in our grant. So we will also be putting that out there. My team is meeting next week to kind of put all that together, so we will definitely be bringing out some more information. And then the last thing is myself and Kat, our superintendent, have been working very closely with the Child Development Division. We're still working with them. We know there are some significant issues around childcare, and we are doing everything we can to get as much information as we can. We are just asking you continue to be patient and sending us the information you want us to pass up the ladder. And we really do hope that our deputy director of the Child Development Division is going to start meeting and working with us to help address the major childcare stuff that's going on across the state. This is obviously not just Lamoille County. And I'll just finish with a big thank you to all of you who came tonight. And if you have any questions, my information will be in the chat box.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I neglected to, well, I didn't neglect. I introduced Janet Murray, but I almost skipped her. So Janet Murray, who is our early ed director. Janet, is there anything that you would like to say to everybody tonight? I know you've been typing into the chat. Janet, are you still with us? Oh, there she is. You're on mute.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just a few quick things. And like Tommy said, I am also a Cambridge resident, so I'm happy to speak to all of my community members tonight. Just a quick note that our pre-K programs will align with the K-6 hybrid schedule. So classes will be Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday. There are plans to set up orientation for students who have never been to the school before. So you'll be hearing from Liz Lamphere and Erin Stokes, who are the pre-K teachers. First day, we're going to make arrangements so families can find a way to say goodbye to their children in a way that is feels good to those children who are coming to the school for the first time. I did put my contact information in the chat box, so please feel free to reach out with any questions about pre-K or early childhood special ed. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. And then Jen, are you there? Jen, I don't know if I introduced you, Jen, because it was hard. I didn't see everybody on the screen.
That's okay. I'm used to being left out. It's all right, Mary. So yes,
well, Jen, it was not intentional at all. I know how you feel. So Jen Hulse is the Student Support Services Director for Lamoille North Supervisory Union. And Jen, was there anything that you would like to say to our group?
I did respond to one question in the chat, and there have been questions around what will special education services look like for our youngster who is going full remote or hybrid. And so I'd like to share is that my case managers will be reaching out to parents. If not already, they will be doing so next week to schedule times to meet with parents to take a look at the current IEP, revise or amend as necessary to reflect the child's current educational program. So we will be working on that. And special education services will continue, although they may look different given that everything else is looking different this year. But hang tight, case managers are on it.
Okay. Thank you, Jen. So I know that between all of us here, we've answered quite a lot of the questions, but maybe not all. I know that there's a question about exemptions. I can't really speak to that because I don't make these regulations. We follow these regulations, but before maybe I turn to Flo because there was a question if religious exemptions were allowed. Kat, was there something you would like to say before you go? You are muted. You are still muted.
Yeah, okay, I should be okay now.
There you go.
I'm about to get on a call with the VSA. As you know, things are changing all the time, and I have to commend the community and the administration and teachers and staff at Cambridge Elementary School for just being so supportive and so creative in trying to go with the flow, which changes minute to minute. We have recently heard that the governor hopes to open the spigot even more within 2 weeks of the start of school. I think that there is tremendous pressure because we have a childcare crisis that has spanned 2 decades, and we have an economic crisis, and we recognize that this is very challenging for families. But we are going to follow the health guidelines, and in our plan, which I think is an incredibly safe plan, we will address all of this within 30-ish days to see what the modeling looks like, because we will definitely have data by then that can inform us. And I will say, 3 days ago, 11 cases, 2 days ago, 5, today, 6. This is going to be met with more and more students coming in from out of state to attend college. And we're already seeing a little bit of an uptick. So we will watch carefully, and we will do everything that we can do to support the families in this process. And I thank you so much for being just so collaborative. I hear a lot from Cambridge parents, and every conversation I have, I think, is just a really rich one, and I welcome more conversations. And again, hats off to the entire Cambridge Elementary School team. You are phenomenal. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kat. Bye. Enjoy your phone call. So, Flo, can I just have you speak to the immunization requirements real quick in the state of Vermont, and then I will give a closing and we will finish up our meeting.
Yes, as far as this is concerned, there's no religious exemption, none whatsoever. So I'm not real sure what they mean, but there's no exemption for this unless it's a significant medical impairment or developmental impairment for a child to wear a face mask.
It's not about face mask. Excuse me, Flo. Excuse me, Flo. It's not about face masks. It's about vaccinations. There were some vaccination questions, I believe, in the chat. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, but I'm not sure the usual school vaccinations.
I believe so. Yes.
I don't believe there's a religious exemption anymore.
Sue Reed, do you know if there was a religious exemption allowed?
This is Jen. There is a religious exemption still allowed.
Yes.
There is religion, but not philosophical anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Religious and medically fragile, I believe, are the two.
May I?
Exactly, Jen. Yep.
May I interject? I think the question got down to if my child is vaccinated, is my child in danger if they're commingling or if they're in a classroom with a child who's not vaccinated for whatever reason that child is not vaccinated?
No, the child who's not vaccinated would be more at risk than anyone. So I guess that's the answer to that. No, a child who's vaccinated is not at risk from a child who is not vaccinated.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I would say that any other questions that you have, if your question was not answered tonight, please email the appropriate person. Some folks put up their email addresses and their phone numbers in the chat, and then you know how to reach me, manderson@cesvt.net, 521-5602. And you can reach out anytime, and I'm here to answer your questions, to help alleviate your concerns if I can. And I just want to thank you all for being here, and just a little closing that I have. So I just want you to know that our staff is 100% committed to offering your children a safe and enjoyable education. We are working overtime at the moment preparing for their return. I'm confident that our staff will be fastidious about following the recommended and required health guidelines, and we will send a final set of operating procedures and guidelines to you in the next 2 weeks. Again, we thank you for your patience and look forward to seeing our students' bright, smiling faces very much. We miss them dearly and can't wait to see them. So with that, I wish you all a wonderful evening. Again, email me or call with any questions, or you can send questions out to the appropriate people, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon.